일어나셔서 국민의례가 있겠습니다. 국회에 대한 경례.
자랑스러운 태극기야. 자유롭고 정의로운 대한민국의 무한 영광을 위해 충성을 다할 것을 굳게 다짐합니다.
바로 다음은 애국가 제창하시겠습니다. 1절만 하시겠습니다. 네, 자리에 앉으시기 바랍니다. 네, 오늘 시작한 이 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼은 2025년 2월 15일 오늘 시작해서 2월 20일까지 진행되는 프로그램입니다. 오늘 강사님으로는 박성호 강사님, 이광호 강사님께서 참여해 주셨습니다. 그리고 오늘 17명의 학생들과 참여 인턴 4명, 총 합쳐서 한 21명 지금 여기서 참여했고요. 네, 그래서 오늘 좋은 강의와 함께 좋은 배움의 시간이 되기를 소원합니다. 예, 다음은 우리 조수진 회장님께서 환영사 및 VIP 소개가 있으시겠습니다.
네, 여러분 안녕하세요. 조수진 회장님 인사드립니다. 네, 오늘 이 자리에 참여해 주신 모든 분들 진심으로 환영합니다. 2025년 차세대 포럼을 개최하게 되어 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 특히 이번 포럼의 주제인 사회적 정의에 대한 귀한 강연을 해주실 방금 우리 부회장님께서 소개해 주신 박성호 강사님과 또 이광호 강사님께 깊은 감사의 말씀 드립니다. 오늘 강연은 사회적 정의란 무엇인가, 그리고 또 사회적 정의를 실현하는 방법이라는 주제로 진행될 예정입니다. 이 주제는 우리 사회의 공정성과 평등을 이해하고 실천하는 데 큰 의미를 지닙니다. 포럼에 앞서 우리 학생들에게 사회적 정의란 무엇인가, 또 미주 한인 학생으로서 우리의 책임과 역할은 무엇인가에 대한 에세이를 제출하라고 요청드렸습니다. 많은 학생들이 깊이 있는 생각과 훌륭한 의견을 담아 에세이를 작성해 주셨습니다. 여러분들의 열정과 참여에 감사드립니다. 오늘의 강연과 그룹 토론을 통해서 여러분들은 사회적 정의에 대한 이해를 더 넓히고 이를 실천할 수 있는 구체적인 방안을 모색하는 유일한 시간이 되길 바랍니다. 다시 한번 이 자리에 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 감사하고 또 환영하며 오늘 이 시간이 의미 있는 포럼이 되길 바랍니다. 네, 짧게 영어로 하겠습니다. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 2025 Next Generation Forum. Today we gather to explore the profound theme of social justice. We are honored to have all esteemed guest speakers, Dan Park and Mr. Huang Lee. Once again, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you. 방금 이제 우리 게스트 스피커 소개하는 이제 VIP 시간인데요. 소개 시간인데 방금 이제 소개를 했던 우리 Dan Park. So our keynote speaker for session, Dan Park. And the next our keynote speaker will be Huang Lee, 리광호 선생님. 그리고 오늘 필라델피아 대한인회 이번에 새로 선출이 되신 김경택 필라델피아 한인 회장님 오셨습니다. 감사합니다. 그리고 나머지 우리 선생님들이 또 오시긴 했는데 네, 비하비 소개를 하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
오늘의 일정 안내를 드리겠습니다. 네, 4시에 도착하셔서 지금 체크인 모두 하셨고요. 아직 오는 학생들 있지만 지금 시작했습니다. 그래서 4시부터 만들기 활동 모두 즐거워하셨던 것 같은데 맞는 거죠? 그 다음에 4시 50분에 지금 개회식이 시작됐습니다. 그 다음에 조금 잠시 후에 우리 수료증을 전달하는 시기 있겠습니다. 그리고 5시에는 박성호 강사님의 첫 번째 강의가 있으시겠고요. 6시에는 저희가 만찬을 드리겠습니다. 그리고 6시 45분에는 두 번째 강의 이광호 강사님을 모시고 진행됩니다. 그 다음에 7시 45분에는 Q&A 시간으로 라운드 테이블 그룹 프로젝팅을 하기 위해서 각자 토의하는 시간을, 디스커션하는 시간을 가질 거고요. 8시에는 저희가 꼭 회의하겠습니다. 네, 그러면 수료증 전달이 있겠습니다. 조수진 실장님께서 나와주시고 호명되는 학생들은 이 앞으로 나와주시면 감사하겠습니다. 팀 1부터 수료하겠습니다. 정주은, 네, 뒤에 좀 생략합니다. 네, 강예린, 라벨라 은비, 정서연, 정세규 학생들 모두 나와주시기 바랍니다. 네, 강사님께서 나와주셔서 수여해 주시고 같이 사진 찍겠습니다. 정주은 학생. 위의 학생은 재미한국학교 동중부 지역 협의회가 주최한 차세대 교사 육성을 위한 TA 활동을 지원하고 에이시안 아메리칸의 정체성을 찾고 지키는 프로젝트인 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼에 참여하였기에 이 수료증을 드립니다. 강예린, 위 학생은 재미한국학교 동중부지역 협의회가 주최한 차세대 교사 육성을 위한 TA 활동을 지원하고 에이시안 아메리칸의 정체성을 찾고 지키는 프로젝트인 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼에 참가하였기에 이 수료증을 드립니다. 네, 내용은 같습니다. 네, 네. 레디오의 정 학생, 정서연, 네, 내용 같습니다. 라벨라 은비 내용 같습니다.
이쪽으로 와주세요. 학생들이. 네, 그리고 주변을 좀 가까이 가까이
하나, 둘, 셋.
이번에는 팀 2, 2팀입니다. 네, 최승민, 윤다혜, 정하민 주시기 바랍니다.
이번에는
이강훈 강사님께서 해주시겠습니다. 네, 자, 최승민 학생, 위 학생은 재미한국학교 동충부지역협의회가 주최한 차세대 교사 육성을 위한 K 활동을 지원하고 에이시안 어메리칸의 정체성을 찾고 지키는 프로젝트인 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼에 참여하기에 이 수료증을 드립니다. 네, 다음은 강 학생이 윤다혜 학생. 네, 내용 같습니다. 그다음에 정하민 학생입니다.
잘 볼게요. 나중에 자, 이 상장을 보여주고 사진 찍어주세요.
하나, 둘, 셋. 둘, 셋.
팀 3입니다. 박태연, 김사랑, 박태왕, 라베라 이준, 김지안. 네, 박태연 학생 먼저 나와주시기 바랍니다. 이번에는 우리 한인에서 오신 김경택 회장님께서 나와주시겠습니다. 팀3 한상민 학생 나와주시기 바랍니다.
한성민 한성민 학생 먼저 나와주세요.
네, 한상민 학생. 네, 위의 학생은 재미한국학교 동충부 지역협의회가 주최한 차세대 교사 육성을 위한 TA 활동을 지원하고 에이시안 어메리칸의 정체성을 지키는 프로젝트인 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼에 참가하였기에 이 수료증을 드립니다. 네, 다음은 김사랑, 박태연. 네, 내용은 같습니다. 연희.
태왕이 말이다. 이름이 바뀌었어요. 아니 여기
박태연. 박태연.
이 팀이 맞네요.
네, 내용 같습니다.
그룹으로 해주세요.
김사랑. 내용 같습니다. 라베라 이준. 내용 같습니다.
자, 이쪽으로 가운데로 와주세요. 가운데로 모아주세요. 위로 보여주세요. 같이 모아주세요. 한 장을 예쁘게 보여주세요. 그리고 하나 둘 셋.
Take pictures. Come on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Cheese.
네, 팀 4. 이경희 선생님 나와주시기 바랍니다. 네, 팀 4는 김서영, 석연재, 정혜나, 오다연, 김지안입니다. 김서영 학생부터 나와주세요. 위의 학생은 재미한과학교 동중부지역협의회가 주최한 차세대 교사 육성을 위한 TA 활동을 지원하고 에이시안 어메리칸의 정체성을 찾고 지키는 프로젝트인 차세대 한국학교 교사 포럼에 참가하였기에 이 수료증을 드립니다. 석연재 학생, 정혜나, 내용 같습니다. 오다연 학생, 내용 같습니다. 김지안 학생, 내용 같습니다.
오케이, 다시 그룹으로.
네, 이제 단체 사진을 모두 찍겠습니다. 이 앞으로 모두 나와주시기 바랍니다.
VIP 소개로 다시 가주세요. 오케이, next slide. 자, 여러분 오늘 포럼을 우리가 주최할 수 있도록 한국 뉴욕 교육원에서 저희가 스폰서를 받아서 우리 학생들에게 이런 정말 좋은 자리에서 할 수 있도록 이렇게 지원을 해준 뉴욕 교육원에 또 우리 교육원 원장님께서 그걸 해주셨습니다. 그렇기 때문에 이분에게 사실 오늘 참석은 못했어요. 부고가 있으셔서 한국에 이제 가셨는데, so this event was sponsored by Korean Education Center of New York, which is Korean government, and we will just show appreciation how much they support us every year for this wonderful forum that we're having today. So 그걸 제가 아까 멘션을 못해서 다시 하고요. 여러분들 앞으로 다 나와주세요. 앞으로 나와주시고 이 테이블을 조금 뒤로 오세요. 학생들은 뒤로 가요. 이제 좀 도와주세요. 네, 앞줄을 조금 숙이고 사이사이. 감사합니다. 자, 앉아주시고요.
That's on the floor, guys.
자, 앉아주세요. 부회장님 앞에 앉아주세요. 되게 소심해요. 옆에 앉아주세요. 아저씨, 머리 오는 거 괜찮아요?
get 1, 2, 3.
하나, 둘, 셋. 하나, 둘, 셋.
Thank you.
네, 강사 소개는 이미 하셨기 때문에 제가 모두를 하지는 않고요. 지금은 이제 강연 첫 번째 강연 박성호 강사님께서 나오실 텐데요. 박성호 강사님께서는 Compilation Specialist시고 US Department of Justice에서 일을 하고 계시고요. 그리고 Community Relation Service를 하고 계십니다. 그래서 나와서 좋은 말씀 들려주실 때 많은 도움 받으실 겁니다. 박수로 환영하겠습니다.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Thank you for having me here first and foremost. As she has stated, my name is Sung Park. I'm a conciliation specialist under the U.S. Department of Justice. The agency is called the Community Relations Service. You guys,
지금 갖고 오신 컴퓨터나 메모가 있으면 이렇게 메모를 하시면서 들으시면 나중에 우리가 디스커션 할 때 도움이 될 것 같아요. 원하시면 컴퓨터 꺼내시고 노트
I'll give you. Is everybody good? No? Not yet? Okay. That's fine. Well, the first couple slides, you probably don't need to take notes, so I'll just start that aspect. If you do need me to pause, just raise your hand, and I'll quickly pause for you guys. Is that fine? Okay, sounds good? All right. So, once again, my name is Sung Park. My agency is called CRS, or Community Relations Service. If you've never heard of it, that's by design. You're not supposed to, unless you really need us. Now, it sounds ominous, but that's not what it is. So, quick introduction on what Community Relations Service is and what Conciliation Specialist is. CRS was founded and created through the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So the idea was simple. When President Johnson at the time was Martin Luther King Jr., they figured when they enact the Civil Rights Act, there will be pushbacks when you first initiate it. So they believed in nonviolence, so they wanted to embed a new agency that would oversee discussions, dialogues, mediating. That was the Community Relations Service, which still exists today. Now, typically, our forward foundation includes confidentiality. You will not see us on the news. You will not hear about us anywhere in the media. If you do, we probably broke our confidentiality, and which is not a good thing to do. And the other aspect is we are a free service. We do consultations, mediations, training, and educational program for anywhere from federal agencies all the way down to local government and nonprofits and other organizations. School districts, police department. If you see anything that's controversial in the news, we probably have somebody there already. You just won't hear about us. So that is the existence of CRS. Now, before I talk about what is social justice, which I'm only going to be discussing the principal aspect of it, which there are 5. And I'm going to be trying to relay the message where it might be a little bit easier to digest. So there will be generic when I explain it. But this is a personal quote that I personally use all the time, which is everything happens for a reason. And the reason I look at it that way is because it's not just for the sake of, oh, I'm going to roll over, I'm just going to accept what it is, but it's to lower the tension within yourself. It's like a self-disciplinary concept that I use it as. But before I dive in there, I'm just going to do a quick introduction of who I was and who I am. So this is going to be the professional chronological order. Before I was in the USDOJ, I was a nonprofit VP of operations for a social service center. And they worked with HUD for affordable housing, Full Abundance for food drives, and also with what's called BHA, which is the Philadelphia Behavioral Health Association, that has to do with drug and alcoholism, outpatient services. Along with those, we also did anything that had to do with energy, like LIHEAP, or anyone who needed additional services in that aspect. Before that, I was a regional manager for Wells Fargo when it comes to the financial side. Right before that, I was a Philadelphia police officer in Philly, and I was also an Army vet. So it's a dynamic background that I do have, and in this job that I currently hold, everybody has a dynamic background. That's the whole point, so that you can actually have discussion with people. Now, what does that have to do with speaker? Yeah. Now, one of the 5 principles that I want to start out with is access to resources. So that's the first one I want to talk about. Now, when you think about resources, most of the time people think of, is there resources and where is it? When I speak of access to resources, it's simply like this. And here's an example that I would like to share with you. When I grew up in Omni, is where I grew up in, around Fifth Street, there was one Chinese American student who I looked at as my little brother. We both dropped out of high school. And when that happened, his family didn't have the financial backing or socioeconomic level where he was able to do what he loved most, which was playing the trumpet. And he was exceptional at it. And one of the things I told him was, constantly, is for him to get his GED. So when he eventually got his GED finally, he decided to go to CCP, which is a community college in Philadelphia. Now, if you think about it, that's not really a huge success to a lot of people. But for him it was, because when he went to that CCP, he happened to be playing a trumpet to a music professor that I knew there because I went to CCP. Eventually down the line, I guess he realized that he had talent, so he actually ended up getting a scholarship to another college called Rutgers. So he got a full ride on there for musical composing, and he is still doing music to this day. Now he is at Berkeley, and he is actually an assistant professor. So, why am I telling you this story? Resources such as money, time, backing, networking, those things are one aspect. But being able to have somebody who gets that access to you is a whole nother world. What I mean by that is this. If one generation of students who has, let's say, both their parents and has the financial backing versus someone who does not, and let's say they are trying to meet the same goal, there is going to be a difference in how much effort they have to put in to get to that point, which is going to be my next slide I'm going to introduce to you. Equity versus equality. So typically on the principle, equity is what they focus on. But does anybody here know what exactly is the difference between equality and equity? You can raise your hand if you know the answer. I'm not trying to put you in the spot, but do you think it's the same thing though? Anybody think it's the same thing? But you're not quite sure how to differentiate it, right? Because people don't completely understand it. So here is an example where I'm actually going to ask for 4 volunteers. So that I'm not going to explain to you, I'm actually going to show you what the difference is. Can I have 4 quick volunteers? Anybody? Or even 3? Real quick. No? Nobody?
Here. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right, you sure? Okay, go ahead. It does require a little bit of running. All right, can you still hear me? All right, we're going to go over here. Now, when it's typically equality, and people think about that, they look at the same rules and same concept. If you say there's the same rule, it's equality. So for example, can you face this way, please? Face this way, please. Now, stay right there. I'm going to have you move right over here. I'm going to have you move right over here. Both for me, okay? Mr. Kevin, you can stay right there. Can you come all the way to the front here? And can you go right here? Imagine this is a bus. This is my sociology and social studies teacher actually taught, and which was mind-blowing to me, and I still remember it to this day. Imagine this is a bus and it's about to go on fire. The rule is simple. I say go, you get up, you get out of the bus. This is the exit. The rules are the same. You get the same amount of time, you get to go at the same time, and there's no change to the rules. You want to say go, you run. Ready? Go. Now you run. Now, obviously, you guys can sit down now. Obviously, there is a problem here, right? Is this equal? Is this fair? If you think about it, most people will say the rules are the same. Your placement might be not be equal, but the rules are the same. That's equality. Equality means simply that you get the same opportunity that everybody else does. So if we say anybody can go to college, that's equality. Anybody can get a scholarship if they get a certain one, right? That's equality. But the difference in equity is, imagine if they were in the same line. If they were in the equal line, where they get to start and have the same rules. So, previously what I stated is that the access of resources, it makes a difference. That was the first reason. So if somebody's starting point is different than the other, might be equality, but it's not equity. That's the difference, which is why you hear health equity. The access of resources to be able to get the health care you need. Health equity. Educational equity with the same concept in an educational world. This is a general sense of how you look at it. Next slide, please. Representation is another one that people talk about when it comes to principle. Now, this one is a simpler story. I guess more pictures going. Representation will be like if you run for office. If there isn't enough people who are politicians that look like me, who understand me and my culture. Or it could be somebody who works in a certain department or agency in the government, as a simpler example. So one story I had was, I was a speaker, guest speaker at Drexel for AAPI. And one of the things I mentioned, or I heard actually, was somebody asked me, one of the students, and he said, you know, I wish there were more people who are Asian American that are politicians, or local politicians, or even national, federal side. And they were wondering why that wasn't the case. So my answer was very simple, and I could answer the same way to you guys. How many people here wants to be a future politician? Raise your hand. And this is exactly what happened, and I told him that is why you don't have it. Because nobody wants to take that risk. So it's simple, right? You have the opportunity, but you're too scared to do it. And that's what I want to focus on in this aspect. Fear. Fear in social justice is simple. It's the unknown. It's because you don't understand. So, let's go to the next one real quick. Diversity. Individual to cultural understanding. So, if you think about it, it's very simple, right? As an individual, you have this passion, compassion, or empathy. But you still have to blend. So how do you work with that? To understand it, you have to be able to understand the culture behind what you're trying to do for you to accomplish and not have that fear. What I mean by is this. As a police officer, it's not just race. I just want to emphasize that. Culture is not just race, and it's just not just national origin. It could be socio-economic differences too. That's still a culture. So as a police officer, there was two incidences that never leaves my head. One was, she was about maybe 10 years old. She was in foster care, and she ran away. And she went to a previous foster parent, and she done it multiple times. But she never tells us why she's doing it, but she just keeps doing it. And the reason why she wasn't with that former foster parent is because she can't financially help her anymore, or take care of her. Thank you. Now, the reason why I'm sharing that story is simple. The cultural aspect was, she didn't really have that choice. Most of the police officers looked at her as she was just a delinquent. Or maybe they might look at her as she's just acting in. But in a general sense, what I'm trying to speak here is that in itself is a culture too. Foster care. The fact that she is 10 years old. The fact that she doesn't have a parent in itself is a culture that she has been handed to her in one way or another. And that in itself is still a cultural diversity you need to try to understand for you to actually be able to say, I have no fear Because most people will avoid it, even though they know it's wrong. And understanding that will get you to not have that fear in that aspect. Or another one. Most people, when it comes to homeless population, even when I was a police officer, they have this stigma. And that in itself is another culture. Most of them aren't actually what the ones that I had to handle were veterans. I was a veteran myself. And one of the other aspects is, I was actually homeless at one point in time too. So I actually have that empathy. But that's just it though. You have to be able to understand it for you to really see through it. So essentially, learning is the key here. And being able to ask the questions that most people would avoid for you to really understand that diversity aspect of it. From individual, as one person, to being blended into a culture and be able to understand it so that you can progress to where you want to be with that in mind. Next one. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. I forgot you. All right. So human rights. Now, this one is very complicated, so I'm not going to go into it deeply, but I want to touch base on it in a different angle. The aspect that I want to focus on is the fact that everybody's just human. And here's why I put it that way. This is pretty much the boiling point on social justice. You can't save everyone. That's something that I believe that every younger generation that I actually talk to in different colleges when I do something like this is one thing I always tell them. You can't save everyone. Because they beat each other up and beat themselves up if they cannot save everyone. Even in their professional life, that would happen. And that's something I would definitely want to tell you, because I go through that myself a lot of times as well. Now, in my previous roles, there were many heartbreaks, and it took me time to accept that. But when it comes to human rights that has to do with within social justice, it's just looking at people as individual human beings. And here's an example, really easy one. My oldest daughter, when she got a little bit older, one thing I always told her, and I still tell her, is really simple. It's your first time being somebody's child, and this is my first time being your father. The reason why I emphasize that is because I want her to know that before you are my child, you're an individual human being. And that's the aspect of social justice. If you really think about it, is to understand and look at it in a way where you look at each individual human being as for what they are, and try to understand their culture, try to understand their background. And then eventually down the line, you'll get to a point where you'll be able to dynamically accept different people and different cultures. And then once you get to that point, then no matter what you do, you'll be able to envision yourself on how to approach people, how to talk to people, how to perform certain services for that individual, how to do your business in that kind of aspect. The last thing I do want to say, and I try to keep this a little bit shorter because we had a little bit of time gap, and I want to make sure you guys had any time available for Q&A, is that you don't, one of the other quotes that I like to put out for my kids personally is, it's easy for a parent to grip and hold on to your child, just in common sense. That could be for anything, but in my instance, this is how I express it. But the hardest thing to do is to gradually learn how to let go. And that works for any sense of relationship, even for yourself. Because the problem is, when it comes to bias, let's say as an example, everybody has a certain form of bias because it comes from experience. And when it comes to human right, the first thing you gotta try to do, and you always have to try to do, is remove that bias as best as you can. And in my sense, I always say it's more humbling for you to keep your hands open and your heart open so that you can hold more than try to grip something because it will come out of your fingers. So, the important thing is, you take these information that you hear from, whether it's me, or whether it's from Professor Han Lee, and I want you to absorb it and think about it, but make sure that you don't act upon it to a certain level just yet. And this is how I express it for my child. What I mean by this is this. There are appropriate levels you should be taking, because technically right now, in this unprecedented time, it's the adults that should be taking action. So, your time will come is usually how I express it to my children. when your time comes, just make sure you have the right tools and the right mindset and you learn the right things. And then when it's time, then you can act upon it. There are other things you can do. Maybe you write a letter to your representative. Maybe you post something online. But whatever it is, I want you to be able to express things in an appropriate manner. Because I'm not up here to make sure you start rallies or do protests. That's not the point. The point is for you to have multiple ways of thinking so that you can process things in a different way. But more importantly, just like how you guys chose to be here and I chose to be here, as I said before, everything happens for a reason. Okay? So keep that in mind, no matter what happens. Thank you. I'll take a Q&A real quick, if anybody has it. I know I threw a lot at you guys at once.
지금 그룹 1부터 네, 퀘스천 한 테이블에서 한
Oh, that's
퀘스천 해볼까요? 팀 1 어디에?
That's fine.
팀 1부터 어디에?
Go ahead.
You said that right now we have equality and not equity. Do you think in the future we'll ever be able to have both? Or do you think we're like bound to be that way?
So you're asking, do I think there's a possibility in the future we can have both equality and equity?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a possibility, but anything's possible. The way I would explain that is, it's small steps, and it's always going to be small steps. And most people, it's actually hard to, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you volunteer, right? And you say, I believe in social justice and I want to volunteer, or I donate money, let's say after you get old. And you see it progressing. But I think the biggest investment you can put in is time, more so than the money. But if you look around, more and more people, if more and more people are spending time on it, then I would say we're moving forward. Personally, this is my personal opinion. If you see less and less, I would say we're moving backwards, or at least a standstill. But eventually, do I believe that? Yes. But there is no such thing as perfect system because we are human beings. So it will always be on the loop, is the best way I can express it.
Thank you.
Yes?
Can you make the distinction again between equality and equity?
So the general sense of how I differentiated it was, equality is, think of it as you're having the same rules to the game. Essentially, everybody starts at the same time, everybody has the same goal in that aspect. But equity is more so making sure that where you start, let's say as a general sense again, is equal. So essentially, let's say you can afford, let's say, college, and one student can. You guys have both the same skill set and same goals in mind. But one might have to make the extra effort and find more resources, this goes back to resources, and access to resources, to be even able to start the process of them getting to that goal, versus somebody who already has all the tools in place for them to go. That's the difference between equity and equality.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes?
Well, after last you said you need to have multiple ways of thinking. Could you explain more about that?
Yeah, so this is more like, it's not exactly just on social justice, this is in general, what I usually emphasize for my own children, is essentially how you look at things might not be the same as other, right? That's a typical way of looking at it. But also look at it this way, because that's very typical for somebody to say. So let's say, imagine that I, as a father, obviously look at things differently than my daughter when we look at the same thing. So there's a teaching method was like role playing, right? So if you do role playing, there is a specific one that's done by Ohio State, which is one of the things that I actually bring to most of my stakeholders, one of the meetings, where they get to switch roles and actually reenact something that already happened. So what I mean by that is looking at the different viewpoint can happen through dialogue, but a lot of times it's through experience. But being able to have the capacity and the consciousness of being able to keep your mind open is going to be the way where you're actually going to be able to accept different viewpoints. Is essentially what I meant by the quote that I was using previously. It's not easy. It's not going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But think of it this way. A student actually at that dress, same one, he told me, I always hang out with my 2 friends, and if I go skydiving, they'll go skydiving. If I do this, I do that. And then later they asked me, hey, if I want to have a different viewpoint, it was the same question as you actually. They were like, how would I do that? Like, who do I talk to? What do I do? I said, okay, who do you don't like? And they're like, I don't like that, this guy who's like super into anime. I said, okay, then you take your friends and you go start talking to them. It's really simple. If you really think about it, it's really simple. And I told him to take his friends because usually one person doing it, they won't do it because they're scared. That fear aspect. So if you take your friend with you, then you guys all get to express something, explain something. Just try it. What's the worst that could happen? You still don't like him? If that answers your question. Any other questions? Yes.
Just like you said, we can't save everyone. And what could we focus on right now as a young adult?
Learn is probably the best way to do it. Learn and experience. Experience, you cannot replace experience. And I don't mean go out there in like West Africa all of a sudden and start building houses with Habitat for Humanity. But what I mean is start in the small area, in your local area. Most parents would allow you to, let's say, try musical instrument or try, like, say, robotic class, things of that nature. It's the same concept I do with my daughter. She would do one thing for maybe 4 months, and then she will switch over. Maybe she don't like it, and then she switch over. But I don't ever say anything to her, and the reason being is because she's trying things. And that's the methodology that you have to take. On a larger sense, you're just going to have to read, listen to other people's dialogue. Learning from other people is the easiest way to do it. Because if you think about it, the whole point of a book is so that you can learn through other people's experience in a shorter amount of time, especially when it's nonfiction. Let's say historical books. Somebody had to explain and experience 30 years of their life to write that small book, and you get to read it in a few days, maybe a month. So you get to experience that. My method for reading, let's say, for example, is I read it as the actual person that there has as a main character first, in their point of view. And then the second time I read it is in the opposition's point of view. And then the third time is a neutral party as much as it is. And the reason why I go with the methodology is because that book will be new to you every single time. For that 3 times, it will be different. You will have different thought process. It's interesting. So you can try that methodology if you want. But that's what I will say. For right now, experience, listen, talk, and then when you're ready and you finally figure out, that's when you use that as your tool belt. We call it the Batman belt in my world. So, any other questions?